I'm out of reality at this point. Like, what in the hell do I got my eyes on? I could not get upright. I was that scared. It changed my whole life.
Welcome back to the Cryptid Creatures Podcast. This is Brian.
It's Todd.
How you doing, Todd?
I'm doing good, sir. How are you?
Fantastic.
Right on, right on.
Just chilling like a villain.
Having a good weekend so far? Staying busy?
Yeah. Went to Costco today. That was a dumb idea.
That sounds awesome. They weren't busy at all, I'm sure.
Yeah, on a Sunday, yeah.
So, man, we're getting close to 1,000 listens already, dude.
I know. I can't tell you how grateful we are for all of you listening and supporting the show.
Absolutely.
It's awesome.
Yep. We appreciate it all. And come join our Facebook group if you're not on it already. We've got a group on Facebook, Cryptid Creatures. We're trying to grow that, get as many members on there, and trying to get more people to come on and do some more episodes. We've got some lineups going on, but the more the better.
That's right. Yeah. So you can always email us at info@cryptidcreatures.co and
reach out
send us
to
your story that way.
Facebook or Instagram at Cryptid Creatures.
That's right.
Got a Twitter handle, don't we?
We do. At Cryptid Creature 1. That's at Cryptid Creature, no E on the end of creature, and the number 1.
Right on. You know what else is cool, Brian, is we're on YouTube now, aren't we?
We are on YouTube on Cryptid Creatures. Hell yeah. You can get us there too.
Right on. I was listening to us on YouTube the other day. It was really neat.
And eventually we will get
video going
up there.
Yeah, when we get ourselves in shape and looking better, we're gonna get behind the camera for you.
If that's possible. Yeah.
That's really not what it is. We're just technically trying to get through this all. But
yeah.
We're good looking enough the way it is. So
we have some stuff to figure out. But we'll get it. We'll get it, and we'll get it to you guys, and it'll be fun.
Exactly. So we have a guest tonight's show, Brian. 3 encounters.
Yeah, big show.
Bigfoot encounters. First 2 was kind of a tease, I think, for the poor guy, and then it showed its face to him. So
that's right. Yeah, and that one was a little farther south there in Ohio. That was
down around Cincinnati area. We're talking there. Yep. I just realized too, he's not far from the Daniel Boone National Forest. Maybe an hour and a half drive or something like that. So it's interesting.
I know. Yeah.
All right, so we're going to bring Jeffrey on. You ready to bring Jeff on?
Yeah, let's do this.
All right, man. We'll bring him on. Jeff, welcome to the show, man. Thanks for coming on. We appreciate it so much.
Yeah, we really do. Thanks.
How you doing, Jeff? What's going on, man?
I'm just chilling on a Sunday. Doing research.
Yes,
right. So you've got about 3 encounters to talk about on this episode. How old were you when each one of these encounters took place?
I was 8 at my first encounter, 16 my second, and 24, 25 on my third and last encounter.
Wow.
Okay, gotcha. Before your first encounter, did you believe these were all Bigfoot encounters, correct?
No, I really was a non-believer. I heard stories from family members. I had family from Arkansas, Virginia, and we'd hear all the stories that they talked about. But we were just too young to even know any better of what was really out there and what wasn't. But I learned very quick at a young age what was out there.
Where did you grow up, Jeff?
Norwood, Ohio, right outside of Cincinnati.
Okay, and that's where most. I'm sorry.
A place on the top of our city was called. We had a sacred piece of land that was called Indian Mound. We lived right at the bottom of the hill of that place.
Okay, gotcha.
Cool.
So why don't you tell us about your first encounter? Tell us what you're doing and hanging out and what happened and all that stuff.
Okay. Well, I got up every day and took my sister to school because she was a couple years younger than me. And we had a lot of bullies, growing up where I grew up. So I'd get her to school every day, but we'd always take a different route, opposite route as the kids. We'd go up to the top of the hill, and across the street was a set of woods, and they were, very sacred. The place was called Indian Mound, Indian burial ground, and the Indians had done some other things up there as well. And coming home one day, walking my sister home after school, I hear a whoop out of nowhere, just come out of nowhere. And I look behind me, and a rock hits the street right next to me and my sister. And so I'm looking behind, I'm looking for kids, I'm looking for bullies, like maybe they tracked us down. They're going to mess with me and my sister today. But I didn't see anything, and I scoped as far as I could see.
Were you guys by some woods?
Yeah, we were right across the street from the big section of woods, probably a good 100 acres. They were directly across the street from where we were walking. So I turned around again and just, I grabbed her hand, because I was thinking bullies at this point, maybe they're, behind some bushes or something. And another whoop, and then the rock landed even closer to us. Now, it didn't hit us, but when it broke, some of the pieces did shear off, into pebbles and hit me and my sister to where we jumped.
How big were the rocks, Jeff?
5 feet. It scared us that bad.
How big did you say the rocks were?
They were probably, hand size. Hand size, good, at least 2-3 pounds. As the second one hit, I look behind me and still see nothing. So I look over towards the section of the woods, and I look in this opening. This was like early spring. Nothing had bloomed yet. And in between a section, there was a pocket where, it was clearly, used by something. Maybe kids, playing in that section of the woods and whatnot. And at that opening was something humongous sitting in between those trees. Now, it had one hand on each tree, and it was in the open pocket, but it kept moving left to right. It started shaking the trees, but as it did, it kept moving its head evasively, like it just didn't want its face seen. Now, but I seen, it was daytime, middle of the day, so I clearly seen the outline of this thing because whatever it was, huge, and it was all muscle, and it was at least 700-800 pounds. Like, this thing was immense. It was as high as those saplings were, they were probably 8-9 foot tall. This thing had to be at least 8 foot and immense. But it was quick. It was moving so fast I couldn't see its face, but I seen the whole outline of everything else. That's how big this thing was. And it was gray. It was black with grayish running through it. And it was layered, hair, because it was clearly blowing in the breeze, off its legs and everything. I couldn't see its feet, but like I said, but I seen everything from like the ankles up to the neck area, because it kept moving so defensively and evasively with its head. It was like it, I was at that point, I was in shock. Like, what is this thing? It's like, is it going to attack us? Is it lost? I clearly thought this thing was maybe just lost, come down a section of the woods and just got lost. You know what I mean?
Jeff, how far away from you was this thing, do you think?
I was about maybe, I'm going to say about 120 to 150 feet.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And
it wasn't that far.
It's funny you mentioned that it had its hands on trees, moving side to side, and its arms stretched out on trees. We've heard that story before, right, Brian?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that behavior.
It kept moving its head back and forth. I could get a glimpse, but not really a full description of what its face looked like. Now, but I know, it wasn't a gorilla. This thing was way bigger than anything I'd ever seen in my life. And at 800 pounds, this thing was monstrous. It was straight upright, standing straight up. And after the second rock hit, and I looked back, and I put eyes on this thing, and my sister's looking back with me at this point, and I know she's got eyes on this thing. I just immediately, I turned and tell her to bolt. And we run, we was only a half block from home. So I told her to bolt. We hit the right-hand turn to get down to our house. And we hit the house. I bolted through the door. And as soon as I got in the door, I told my mom, I said, hey, there's clearly a monster or something up in the woods. It was sitting up there in the open pocket throwing rocks at us. You might want to call the police because this thing may hurt somebody, another group of kids coming down through there. Like, we were clearly shook. And, all his mom said was, you kids today are crazy as hell. Just get your ass back in your room and do your homework. I was pretty upset about it. We were shook. So that night we go, we're back in our room, and I didn't even sleep that whole night. And I don't even think my sister did either, because we were afraid that something was going to come through our back window by the woods
and come through the window and smash, one of us or both of us, So,
Hey, Jeff.
Really didn't get no sleep that night at all.
Jeff, did you notice a smell or an odor when you were encountering this thing?
No. I mean, there was a little breeze that day, but I did not have any warning of any smell, and that was what's weird, because I hadn't had that in anything that I've encountered. In any of my 3 that I ever have any smell, which is ironic. I mean, it's kind of wild, but
Jeff, what was the name of the town you had this encounter in?
Norwood, Ohio.
Okay.
Right outside of Cincinnati. So we never went back up that way. From that day forward, if we went to, if I was taking her to school, which I did, we were going up Harper, which was, the street at the bottom of the hill, furthest away from that set of woods, as possible. And we never went that street again. I did later, and, as I was growing up and an older man, but I was always, every time I was up on that street by those woods, it didn't matter day or night. I was always just extra cautious about it, things, because I knew what happened up there, and like I said, there was nothing ever even said about it, to anybody else in the town, because, the way Mom put it on us that day when we, tried to tell her, we never spoke of it to nobody, not even the kids. So nobody even really ever even knew about this, even to this day. I just decided, then this was all really suppressed by my, at the end of my 3rd encounter with my dad and my uncles, that I was to keep it all secret because of the shit that, we all get from the naysayers and the government and what have you. So, nothing was really much said of it until these past 2 weeks I've been doing all these interviews. So this is the first, that all my stuff has really been out there.
Okay, cool.
Right.
So why don't you tell us about your second encounter? What happened there? What was going on?
Okay, well, we were taking a break from where we usually fished around our town locally. Down on Route 32, there was a section of the Miami River, but it was burned up, from all the fishing. So we decided to go up to a place called Lake Cowan. It's up in northeastern Ohio. Out of ways a little bit, but just needed a break. So we went up there that day to fish. We got up there before everybody else. We got a boat. We get out to the opposite side, to just get away from everybody. And we come up on this killer spot to fish. So we tie on our baits. We both decided to use the same thing, a silver spoon. And I go to the back of the boat and I tell him, get to the front, but please, brother, don't snag me. Please, whatever you do, don't snag me. We're in a perfect spot, and so we go to fish. Well, I throw my spoon and I'm reeling mine, and we're fishing for muskie basically, or bass, whatever's going to hit, because that was the 2, well-known fish that were in that lake. His first cast, as I'm reeling my bait in, I feel my hat go off into the water, and I feel a jerk on my ear. He had put that spoon right through my ear.
Ouch.
Clean through it.
Damn.
So I'm like, you mother effer, take me to the boathouse. I got to get this out of my ear. It's bleeding like crazy. I said, and we'll see what happens from there. So we get over to the boathouse, and the clerk's already out in front waiting for us. We were directly across from him. He's seen exactly what had happened. So he's waiting out there with a stick and a pair of snips. And he's like, I told you guys, you ain't supposed to hook each other. You're supposed to hook the fish. And he laughs. Well, I'm not laughing because I'm upset at this point. This thing's throbbing. So he says, well, come in the bait house and grab this stick and bite on the stick, and I'll see if I can get that out of your ear. So we walk in. I bite on that stick. He grabs the metal snips that he had pop. I feel a pop, and then he slides that spoon out of my ear. So at that point, I'm kind of hurting. I'm like, let's just go home, He's like, well, what about going to Todd's Creek? He said, it's not far. And the white bass are running, so maybe we can get on there. Maybe we'll get a muskie or a white bass from down there. So I agree. After about 10 minutes of debating just to see if my ear would quit bleeding, I decided to go. So we get there, and it's out in the middle of nowhere. All you got soybean field. You can see deer running through the fields. It's still kind of early that morning, like 7:45, around in that area. So you get out of the truck, and there's a huge farm. But you got to go about 600, 700 yards to get to the creek itself. There's a hole in the fence. And he knew the farmer that owned all that land. We had permission. So, I agreed, let's just go ahead and try it. So we get there, and he's down about 25 feet below me, and I'm up closer towards the waterfall. That's this crystal clear water. It's beautiful. And I'm jacked at this point. We're going to burn them up. And out of nowhere, like 15 minutes in there, 20 times being in this place, a rock. I'm looking at the opposite side of the bank as I'm casting, and I see a rock coming right in at me. But I guess it was thrown at an angle because when it landed beside me. And I'm freaking. I look down at him, and I'm like, what are you doing? Are you trying to hit me with rocks, bro? And he's like, you clearly see me reeling my rod at my line. And he said, how could I throw a rock with both my hands on my pole? And I'm like, quit tripping, bro. If you did it. He's like, no, come on, man. You know me better than that. We're here to be serious. I said, well, that's what I was hoping. So, we let it go. I don't think nothing else of it. But I'm wondering in the back of my mind, what the hell? If he didn't throw it, who threw that? Because we're out in the middle of nowhere. And then not even 10 minutes later, the same thing. Rock coming right at me. It lands right beside me. At this point, I look at him, and when I look at him, he's already locked eyes with me. And as soon as we lock eyes, we are gone. I mean, we're in the middle of the creek in about 3 foot of water with no waders on, and we're peeling trying to get up out of the water to get up onto the bank to be gone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We are spooked. So we're at the edge of the bank, and the water coming off of us is hitting the mud on the bank, and there's a little incline. So we're slipping and falling, trying to get up out of this creek. And at the same time, he's saying, what the hell was that? What the hell was that? That wasn't me. What was that? I mean, what throws rocks at you out in the middle of nowhere? He said, it's not even 8 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday, and we're out in the middle of nowhere. He's like, something is off. And I said, this whole day's been off, bro. And so we get through the cut of the fence, and we're running to the truck. And this truck's still 550 yards away. And we're soaking wet, and I'm scared to death. And he's more scared than I am at this point. Because he knows he didn't throw it. So we get about halfway through that line on the farm, and we're about 300 yards away from the truck. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, you hear a pack of probably about 10 coon dogs, and they're running something through the woods back where we just were. So now I'm super freaked. Like, are them wild dogs? I mean, I don't know. They sound like coon dogs to me, Chris. What do they sound like to you? He said, that's coon dogs. But why would they be running? They don't run coons in the daytime. So we bolt even quicker. He's like, come on, we got to go. We got to get the truck. So we get to the truck, and we throw the poles in the back of the bed. And my door's open, so I jump on in on the passenger side, and he jumps in the driver's side. But he is so shook by what just happened, he can't even get the keys in the ignition. So I grab him out of his hand, and I just slide the key in. I turn it over, and I tell him to peel. And that was it. We never went back there.
Jeff, did you say you did see something, though, or?
No, I didn't see shit that day. I didn't see nothing.
Okay.
But I felt like I was being warned when that second rock come in. I felt like that was a warning. Because, you're thinking everything possible at that minute. I mean, logically, what could this be? But in all honesty, 7:45 in the morning on a Saturday in the middle of nowhere, nothing's around you but woods and farmland. You know what I mean? Like we're out in the middle of nowhere, Hickville, in a creek.
Did it take you back? Did it take you back to your?
The side that those rocks come from, it was all woods. So where did the rocks come from? Is what I was thinking.
Jeff, did it take you back to your incident you had when you were younger with your sister? Did you start thinking about that?
It sure did. It sure did. But not until later in the day. Because I was that spooked. Yeah. I didn't really put it all together till later. After we got home and stuff. So we didn't go back there. We started going back down and fishing where, we used to fish. But then we started hearing stuff about our older friends, the older guys, the generation up from us. That was their spot. But they would always fish the opposite side of that part of the river on 32 than we would fish. We would fish like the lower flat side. There was a big concrete slab. And the woods were open, but they liked to fish the other side, and it was thicker, because they liked to drink and party. Mm-hmm. But everybody was already talking stories down there. Because there was a local speedway gas station everybody stopped at. And you started hearing stories about some wild man that looked like somebody just dropped him off one day in the woods and never went back and got him. And they were saying how he was running through the woods, in the middle of the day and night, tearing up people's stuff, their campsites and shit. So that kind of spooked us. So I really quit fishing with him after that. Period. You know what I mean?
Maybe he didn't want to fish with you.
I quit fishing for a minute altogether after that. After we went back down there, I heard that. That kind of sealed the deal for me.
Right.
Right.
These things kind of like to throw rocks at you. It seems, though, Jeff.
Yeah, that's what I've learned now. I've been doing a lot of research lately, and I've got some friends that are pretty up there, in the higher, notches of the belt when it comes to this subject, like you all. And they're teaching me a lot of stuff that I had no clue about. You know what I mean? So the things I didn't know, I know now, which it's already been confirmed with me anyway. What I seen the third time, really locked it in for me.
All right.
Because there was no denying what I'd seen and what I did. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
It was a full on, so close. Like, it changed my whole life.
Why don't you tell us go ahead and tell us that one. We're listening, bud.
I was on the border of Ohio and Indiana by Miami Whitewater Park. An old buddy of my Uncle Mike's. My Uncle Mike was the ex-Army Ranger, did 2 tours in Vietnam. One of his buddies had owned some land right next to Miami Whitewater Forest. So we were allowed to go fish whenever we wanted. But we never night fished. So this night, my Uncle Mike decides he wants to go and night fish for some crappie. So we get there. We didn't take a lot of gear that day. It was kind of hot. It was like 80, 85. And we got there about 2 o'clock. And the climb up there, it was just so brutal. You couldn't carry much anyway. So we all packed light. We didn't really take, but maybe, what you were drinking, you weren't taking, any more than one, drink. Mm-hmm. I usually took about 20-ounce Dr. Pepper, my fishing pole, and a minnow bucket. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that was it. And that's what they did, because this climb would kill you. It would start flat, and by the time you got to the top, you were at a 90-degree angle. Like, once you got to the top, you threw all your gear down, and you were sucking wind with your hands. You know what I mean? Like, it was that bad.
It must have been a good fishing spot.
But it was. And there was even a better lake up above, about on the north side of Lake 1 was Lake 2, but it was about 150 yards more higher. And there was a ridge that went all the way back around to the backside of Lake 2. And on the left side of the lake was all straight thick woods. I mean, it was all the way around, but that side was worst. And it was a steep incline. You know what I mean? Like, it was shit. It was a super 90, I'll tell you that.
Mm-hmm.
So nobody ever wanted to go fish Lake 2. You were burnt out from the climb to get to 1. And the cows always stayed over on the left-hand side. He had a herd of cows up there he had, and they always stayed up on that side because that's where all the shade was. And I didn't know how this was going to pan out because, we'd never seen what they did, whether they moved or not at nighttime. So we're up there. We finally get up there, and we're fishing. And we're burning them up. Just lighting them up. But, from 2 o'clock, and you're having a blast, like time just flew. Before we knew it, it was time to switch over to night fish. Mm-hmm. So we all switch over, and we're still catching, crappie and bass, everything all together. Because, that time of season, late September, everything's kind of hitting, getting built up for winter. So we were having a blast that day. Well, night come quick. About 12 o'clock, the cows that were on the left-hand side, about 10 of them, they just get up and just leave out of nowhere. And instead of going to the right side that sloped down to the river in the woods, where they usually went in the daytime, they went around and up to Lake 2, and behind some trees and cover up there. And, I didn't think nothing of it because I'd never been up there night fishing. And neither did my uncle or my dad. Nobody knew. Nobody had a clue because we'd never been up there at night. So, night comes, and it's about midnight up on the left ridge that wrapped around back to Lake 2. I heard something coming down off the ridge, but it was moving slow and evasive, moving, stop. I thought deer, and that's what I always thought, Anyway, being in any stretch of the woods, you hear shit like that, you think, at nighttime, you think deer,
right?
Just being defensive. So I didn't think nothing of it. I just shrugged that off, and we're still catching them decent. But then about an hour later, like everything just shut down out of nowhere. So I'm like, well, hell with it. I'm going to go ahead and set up with this lip bobber and use my minnows.
Mm-hmm.
So I switch over, and we ain't got no fire going. You know, it's me, Rocky, Dad, and Mike, and they're all three fishing, you know, the front part of the lake, closest to the hill, and they're all packed in there together. Nobody's talking. You know, we've been quiet the whole night. And that's what's ironic is because after the first time I heard that sound up there, didn't hear it no more. So I grabbed the lantern, and we're so close to each other because, you know, Lake One's pretty small.
Uh-huh.
So I figured I'm going to take this lantern, and I'm going to put it at the turn, and I'm going to go over to my spot. You know, it's a 5-foot little hole over there nobody knows about. And I'm going to go catch a couple more, you know, because we got super competitive when we were up there. So I make my move. I go to make my move over to the left side. And I grabbed it in the bucket at the turn, and I set it off to the left, and I put the lantern up to see where I was going to go, to see where my spot was, you know, because the woods were so bad on that side.
Uh-huh.
Like, it sucked. I mean, it was hard to fish. You had to cast sideways to get in. So I put the light up to see where I'm going. And I put the light right on something that was crouched down right next to the lake. It had its right hand in the water, and its hand was huge. And when I put the light on it, I guess it sensed it had some, you know, light on it. It started to raise its hand out of the water real slow. And I guess it was trying to get a drink because, you know, its hand was cupped when it come out. And it poured it out so slow, I could see the water drip from his hand. And I'm froze stiff at this point. Like, what in the hell did I just put light on? Because when I first seen the color, I thought deer. But after you see what you see, and that hand coming out, I was froze, stiff with fear. Now, as it senses it's got light, it's pulling its hand, it's turning its head over its left shoulder. And as it's doing that, its mouth's open, and it's growling real low, like a rabid dog, real low, slow, like a dog that's just fucking ready to kill something.
Mm-hmm.
And I hear my dad and them vaguely, you know, very like, I'm out of reality at this point. Like, what in the hell do I got my eyes on? And I hear them saying, Junior, what is that? What the hell is that? Do you see that? And it's all of them saying it. And I'm not saying nothing because I'm froze stiff. And this thing's looking at me at this point, and it's looking back at the woods. It's got its head to me, but I can see when I put the eyes on it, its eyes were yellow. They glue like a yellow. So I could see its eyes. That's how close I was to this thing, probably 40 feet out. That's how close I was to this thing. So I know what it was. And it's glancing like it wants to run, but it's not. It's froze. It's not moving. And it's looking at me, looking at the woods, looking at me, looking at the woods. And finally, you know, they come to me a little bit louder. What the hell is that? And I say, go bolt. And they jumped. I mean, they ran and just jumped off the side of this hill. Small mountain.
You guys, so you told them to take off running, and you took off running too?
Go. I said, go now, run, get up this mountain, run now, go. And they listened, they were gone.
Jeff.
And that's when I realized they seen what I seen.
Can you describe any of the facial features of this thing?
It had the coning of the head, but it wasn't intense, you know, or as big as you would think it would be. Like they talk about the adults. This thing was maybe 500 pounds tops. It wasn't huge. Mm-hmm. Looking back on it, I've learned that it may have been a juvenile, you know, because his head wasn't coned. It wasn't huge. It was muscular and impressive, but it just wasn't humongous, you know.
Okay.
It had layers of fur, cinnamon color, beautiful cinnamon color. It wasn't matted, you know, at all. And the first one, you know, that the black grayish one in Norwood was kind of matted, but it wasn't bad neither. And this one, it was beautiful laid out. Now, I don't know, because all the water being around that area, you know, it's maybe it had trekked through the rivers and shit, you know, and cleaned itself off. There was no smell of this thing either, and I was 40 feet on it. It had the cone head. It had 4 canines, but they were kind of rounded. They weren't sharp, like in any shape or form, like you would think, you know, something out in the wild to be, like a wolf or,
But definitely had canines.
It looks
So-
worn down a little bit.
More human-like?
Hair all the way up to his cheek. The hair stopped right underneath the eye bone, the cheekbone, the upper cheekbone. It went all the way down into like a little beard in between the
I don't know if
chest.
you can hear me.
Jeff, was it more?
Huge eye socket.
Jeff, was it more human-like looking, or was it more gorilla or ape-like looking in the face? Can you?
This was half and half. I've seen so much of each one, in that whatever it was itself. I mean, by the time I ran and bolted, I knew what I had my eyes on. I knew what it was. It was confirmed for me right there on the spot.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew what it was.
Yeah.
But at this point, I'm thinking, how am I going to get off the bottom of, get to the bottom of this mountain without getting killed? And it was crazy because halfway down this mountain, like, fear was so bad in me. When I fell, because I raised the light to see where we were going, I slowed down a little bit, and they took me out because I passed them up. I passed them up like lightning. But when I raised the light to see where we were going, on the way down, they took me out. We all rolled down the hill. And I could not get use of my legs. I could not get upright. I was that scared.
I don't blame you. I would be too. I'd be running for my life.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, I'm crashing into stuff. I'm crashing into sides of trees on the ground, stumps. I'm hitting rocks, big ones. And I'm trying to stop myself and push up, onto my feet so I can run. But fear has got me. It's got me gripped. I can't use my legs. It's like they're gone. And I thought, well, I'm dead. So I'm waiting any second for, this thing or these things. Maybe there's more at this point to just come and get me, or it's going to, they're going to come get us all, I mean, that's where it takes you, fear takes you to that point at that point in time.
So Jeff, when you guys ran off the mountain, I mean, what happened? What did you guys say to each other? What did you get when you got home or whatever?
Okay. We get to the bottom finally after about 20 minutes of struggling. I could not get used to my legs for about a good 5 minutes. So we get down to the bottom of the hill, and the guy who owns the house, Tom, comes out, and he tells my Uncle Mike, "Hey, come over here. What was all that ruckus, man? I heard y'all coming down the mountain screaming and yelling. What the hell was going on?" And my Uncle Mike walks up to him and he says, "No, we just got spooked by something up there. So we just, we didn't feel right, so we rolled." And he didn't tell Tom nothing. Didn't tell Tom shit. So Tom was like, "All right, cool. Well, next time y'all want to come back, just come on back and fish. Just call me first." And he goes in. So my Uncle Mike comes over to me. And, me and Rocky and my dad are all in a circle, and we're in shock. Of course, I'm crying like a baby at this point. I'm so emotional. Like every emotion you could possibly feel has come over me. And I'm crying like a baby. And my Uncle Mike says, when he comes up to us, "Guys, this is crazy, but Jeff, you can't go around telling people what you've seen. People are going to think you're crazy. Your family might even try to throw you in a loony bin. We know what we've seen, but we got to make a pact right here and now. We cannot say nothing to nobody. Not you, Rocky, your dad, nor I can say a word. Promise us you'll keep it a secret. Let's make a pact." So I did, But I got to be honest with you. From the time I did that, man, my life spiraled out of control. I struggled with alcohol after that. I struggled with drugs after that. I just recently got sober 6 years ago.
Wow.
I went down, all the way downhill after that.
I can only imagine what seeing something like that would do, especially since you had the two encounters prior. I mean, it built up for you, and then it finally showed you what it was.
Didn't have to suppress it. That was, I think, what really was hard on me was having to keep it a secret,
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a psychological
So
hit.
it just took me, it engulfed me. The whole thing just consumed me. But, recently, the reason why I decided to let it all out is because my fiance, she just got diagnosed with rare lung disease, RBILD, and she's got like 3 to 5 years to live. So I sat down with her and told her, and I said, "Do you think I should tell the world what happened to me, or do you think I should keep it a secret?" She said, "No, God knows, huh?" She said, "What are you doing? Are you crazy? You're crazy to not let it out there and let people know and push for the truth." So I did, and it's gotten so big here lately, doing interviews with people, and you guys too, like I've got my first 2 books written about it, done, complete. They're sitting at a publisher. I'm just waiting. I've got many of them in line, but they're not, it's just so hard to pay for publishing at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I can't afford it. Like, I'm just waiting for somebody to come at me and help me get it done. And I feel like it will be done eventually. You know what I mean? So I'm just going to be patient with it all.
Yeah.
There are several self-publishing
And
avenues.
Also, another place, I don't know if you guys ever heard of it, Voyage Media. I have an appointment with them April 27th about the manuscript of my books for maybe a possible movie idea. That's just coming Friday.
Oh, okay.
So it's getting out there. My story's getting, it's getting through to people.
Well, we're
starting to get around, grow up, and get bigger. So let's see what happens with it.
We're going to expose this as much as we can for you. So you'll help us get exposed too. So it works out both ways.
Right on, brother. I appreciate you for having me on your show.
No problem. Hey, question for you though.
Yes.
What do you think Bigfoot? I mean, what do you think? Do you think these things are flesh and blood creatures? Do you think they have been around? What's your theory on Bigfoot in general?
My theory, since all the research and stuff I've done, I've really come to the conclusion, I'm not 100% sure, but I have to say at this point, my opinion would be that they are half and half. I think they're like a hybrid hominid is what I'm kind of leaning towards. There could be a mixture of several species in with that as well. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But that's the kind of angle that I'm leaning toward at this point. There's a mixture of, a primate and human and something, maybe 1 or 2 other species of something as well.
Do you think they're related? Do you think they're spiritual at all or paranormal?
Oh, God, yes. I have to tell you, in my case, being an identical twin and losing my brother at birth, I was blessed with, I think I'm a little more intuitive. And I'm so empathetic to things out there in life, wildlife and fishing and stuff. I just feel like them things, Sasquatch, I feel like we are kind of it just seems like every time I'm in the woods, I have something go on. And I even had the guy from Sasquatch Theory, buddy of mine over there, said that he feels like they're kind of maybe drawn to me. If there's ever one close, it feels like, that somehow, some way, there's some type of connection just because I guess he thinks that they feel like I'm not a threat and they know that, I'm a pure soul and I would not hurt anything,
Yeah.
But they still give you the warning, if you get too close by throwing rocks,
Well,
as well, when they throw the rocks as well, they're saying, hey, not only are they saying, hey, this is my spot, watch it, stay close to where you are, don't wander too far off. They're also leaving a message that, hey, that's my creek too, so whatever you catch, well, why don't you leave me something too, before you leave,
Well, one thing I was going to say was either you have coincidences or you're lucky, or there's just quite a few around your area where you're at. And I was looking on a map outside of Cincinnati. There's a lot of some deep wooded areas and some refuges and whatnot where these things could be hanging out.
Yes, Saltport Lake. Yeah, Saltport Lake is a hot spot right now.
And if you go south of yourself there, I mean, you're really getting into some heavy duty stuff
Better
there.
Better believe it. Absolutely.
So how long?
Like I said, it's blown up. They're out there, and their numbers are growing, and that's why we're starting to get a lot more sighting.
Do you get out in the woods and fish a lot now, Jeff?
No. It all changed that day. That night, I'll say, it all changed. No, I do, but it's always in the daytime.
Uh-huh.
When I do go, it's always in the day. Broad daylight.
Gotcha. Do you think, would you like to see one again?
Oh, yeah. I've already thought about going up there at times, maybe at night. And, somewhere down the line in the future, see where things go. Maybe, take a crew of people with me up there, maybe one night. I have thought about it.
Well, I'll tell you what, Jeff, we are going to be in Lexington, Kentucky in November for a crypto convention that's going on down there. So we'll let you know when we're there and maybe you can come down and say hi and check things out.
Love to. Would love to.
All right, man. Well, we appreciate you coming on the show. Appreciate you telling your stories and getting it out there. The more people that hear these things, I think the more people that may start believing in these things. Absolutely, brother. Thank you for your time. Thank you for having me today. All right. Thank you for being on. You're welcome. Well, that was a really great show. Another great show in the books, man. Jeff really had some interesting stories to tell for sure.
Yeah, those are 3 good stories. I'm glad he had the time to come talk to us.
Yeah, me too. Always get these guys on here, and the more the better that we can expose these sightings and encounters and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, we had some recording issue, connectivity issues there. I think we still got a good show out of it, and I hope everybody still enjoyed it.
Yeah, I'm sure they will. I can't wait to listen to it myself. All right, Brian, you have a good one, man. We're going to get out of here until next episode.
Right on. Once you're out in the woods, keep your eyes and ears open. Let us know what you hear and see.
Right on. Take care, man.
See ya.